My dear friend, welcome to our 26th Sunday ERC homily. Today, one of the great questions that we have to ask ourselves is, can I continue living in comfort while ignoring the misery of those who are around me? My dear friends, today, Jesus is trying to challenge us on one of the great sins of the modern world. One of the great sins of the modern world is the sin of indifference, living as if nothing is happening when great things are happening around us. Our first reading today comes from the book of Prophet Amos. Amos lived in 8th century BC, and he offers today a graphic description of the intentions of the wealthy of his day. They used to lie in ivory boards and sprawling on their divers. They eat and drink sumptuously, drinking wine by a bowlful, using the finest of oil to anoint themselves. Their diet of meat would have been a rarity in ancient Israel because meat was not easily available. The fact these people are wealthy is not the point, but that they would be deemed a blessing from God to be wealthy. So God condemns them today because he says about the ruin of Joseph, they do not care at all. In other words, their compassion has been smothered by complacency. They spare no thought for other people. At this time, Amos, the United Kingdom of David, had been divided into two. There is the Israel, which is the northern kingdom, which had its capital in Samaria, and Judah, the southern kingdom, the capital was in Jerusalem. So Amos came from Judah, the southern kingdom, but was called by God prophesy in the northern kingdom. The major part of the northern kingdom consisted of the land allocated to the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the tribes descended from Joseph. So that is why he says, woe to those who feel safe on the mountain of Samaria. And about the reign of Joseph, that is the northern kingdom. And that brings us to today's parable. The parable found only in the Gospel of Luke. Incidentally, this is the only parable in the Gospel where one of the character is named. In all the other parables, the characters remain nameless. So, for example, we do not even know the name of the Good Samaritan, nor do we know the name of the prodigal son. In fact, it's only Lazarus who is named today. So we sometimes name the rich man as Dives, but that is just the Latin word for a rich person. The rich man had all that he could ever need. He is the epitome of the kind of person described by Amos in today's first reading. He clothed in purple and fine linen, and he ate great and sumptuous meals. Purple and fine linen were the most costly of all the clothing that time. We are told that he had done. You are not told that he had done anything wicked or that he was evil. He is not obviously evil and cruel person. No, no, we are not even told whether Lazarus was a good person. The parable does not hold the rich man responsible for the poverty or the misery of Lazarus. In fact, we do not even know whether Lazarus approached the rich man or even begged for food. He's just sitting at the gate of the household. Well, there is a perennial temptation for us living in the first world to blame the Lazarus at our gate for his misfortune. Sometimes we may think that it is because he was maybe did work for his livelihood, or maybe you would say that this guy is unemployed. We can even base ourselves and say there are many charities that need to help people, or we may say that he needs to go and look for a job. Okay, sometimes we can say maybe he only spent the little he gets by taking drugs, cigarettes, and alcohol. Or perhaps sometimes we can even walk by Lazarus, not noticing what is happening around us. So, why was the rich man sent to a place of torment, as he calls it? The reason is that simply because he is insensitive, he is self centered, he is indifferent to the plight of Lazarus. Lazarus is in a state of total poverty, full of souls, waiting for the scraps from the table as the dogs lick his wounds. Since dogs were considered unclean animals, this detail adds to the indignity of Lazarus. Let us keep in mind that one word of the New Testament uses for sin is hamatia. It means missing the mark. So it is the image taken from archery. Well, you are aiming at the bull's eye, but you miss the mark. Sin is not only about what I do, about my thoughts, words, and actions, it is also about what I fail to do. So Lazarus laying at the gate and the rich man couldn't care is the issue of missing the mark. So it wasn't that what the rich man did that condemned him to a place of torment. It is what he did not do. He failed to see Lazarus right at his doorstep. Mother Teresa often found that after he had spoken to groups of people, there were people who approached her after the talk and they would say, "We want to join you in Calcutta." And Mother Teresa would many times answer, "Find your own Calcutta." In other words, God does not cause some people to do great things in faraway places, but for most of us, the call to discipleship is right here on our own front doorstep, right now. That is what Mother Teresa would advise. My dear friend, don't search for God in a faraway place. He is just here. He is close to you. Don't think about donating to big charities, getting big monies, and doing great things. There are many things that we can do just right at our doorstep. Well, my dear friends, today I want us to reflect about the issue of and the sin of indifference. There was a Jewish writer called Elie Wiesel who won a Nobel Prize in 1986. During the Second World War, he was a prisoner in the concentration camp. The Nobel Committee recognized him as one of the most important spiritual leaders and guides at the age, at the time of repression and racism, because of his novel. And the novel was titled The Town Beyond the Wall. This tells a story of a young man called Michael during the Holocaust. When the war ended, Michael wanted to return to his Hungarian hometown. And why did he want to return? He wanted to satisfy his curiosity. In one sense, he could understand the brutality of the prison guards and even the brutality of the executioners. But what he could not understand was the man whom he calls the spectator, an individual who lived in an apartment not far from the synagogue, overlooking the town square just upstairs. Each day, this man peered down at this apartment window, watching thousands of Jews who were handed into the execution camps. Wiesel writes that his face was just gazing out, reflecting no pity, no pleasure, no shock, not even anger or any interest. This man was just impassive, cold, impersonal. The face was indifferent to the spectacle downstairs. What? People are going to die? This is not my fault. The face is neither Jewish or un-Jewish. A simple spectator. That's what it was. Nothing, according to the face, the Michael, the face said, it has nothing to do with me. The no, of course, is Wills's own story that he offers in this reflection. At one point, I realized why I wanted to go back, to see that man, a man who was indifferent. He saw us in the courtyard, already gathered by the enemy to be sent off to death, to execution. And there he was, indifferent. And Michael says, I want to see him. I want to confront him. Well, maybe much of the Wiesel's rating and public speaking is about indifference, but he says from that day, he began fighting indifference. He wrote about it, he spoke about it. And he went on, my dear friend, the opposite of education is not ignorance, but indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, but indifference. The opposite of life is not death, but indifference. It is because of that face that I remember, the face in the window. Dante's Divine Comedy is a very great book. If you get time, look for it. It's a story of journey to paradise. But before Dante reaches paradise in his first journey, he goes down to the depths of hell, the inferno, and then slowly upwards to the purgatory or purgatorio before reaching the paradiso. Dante is accompanied by a poet vigil at his guide, and no sooner do they pass through the gates of hell that they hear sighs, cries, and shrieks of lamentation. Here they behold the souls who are being stung, again stung by wasps and bees. Why? Because we are in hell, we can assume that we are sinners. But what have these souls done? What sins have they committed? One person explains the right state of being in the fate of those sad souls who lived a life but lived it with no blame and no place. They are not in purgatorio, they are not in hell. In other words, here are the fence sitters, those who refuse to choose to do anything. They did nothing really evil, but neither did they do anything good. Like the rich man in today's parable, they were totally absorbed in their own lives and obviously to the plight of others. Here, by the way of an example, is we see these souls are being punished for the sin of indifference. They were not passionate about anything, and they are tormented endlessly by wasps and bees. It's like these souls are being stung by bees and wasps. They are condemned to eternity, but now they cannot remain indifferent because the bees and the wasps are stinging them. They are running around crying, you know, they are running around shouting. Their indifference has come to an end. They cannot be different anymore in the place of torment. In 1994, Kevin Carter, a South African photographer, won Pulitzer Prize for photography for capturing the image of a vulture stalking a starving young Sudanese girl. In 1993, Carter flew to southern Sudan to photograph a massive starvation caused by a devastating civil war. So, as he crashed to photograph a young girl in the forest, a vulture landed in full view. Careful not to disturb the bird, Carter positioned himself for the best possible image. He said he waited for around 20 minutes, hoping that the vulture would spread its wings. It didn't, and he couldn't wait any longer. So, after taking the photograph, he chased the bird away, but it did nothing to the little girl. Carter's award winning photograph captured the scene of a starving child. He won the prize. But you know what? When his story appeared in the South African newspaper, many people reacted and they said there were two vultures at the scene. One, the real vulture, and the second one, the photographer. In fact, we are told Carter, after that, he did not continue with his profession. If the rich man in today's parable is tormented in flames because of his indifference, he is tormented because he failed to do anything. After all, we are not taught that the Lazarus was virtuous person and this man was a sinner. He wasn't a sinner. Perhaps the biblical names are significant. Maybe they will give us something, some hint to what it is. Remember, this is the only story in which Jesus names this one man, the poor man, Lazarus. In Greek, Lazarus means God is my help. Lazarus is not just poor person, but a poor person who believes and trusts in God. And so he found himself at the Abraham's bosom in paradise because of his faith and trust in God, not because he was poor and destitute. Poverty can just as easily make someone bitter and resentful and can take you to hell. but Lazarus trusted in God. So, what today's parable is saying to us in the 21st century is that where would I place myself in this story? I want you to listen to this story. Place yourself. Am I closer to Lazarus or am I closer to the rich man? Or to use contemporary images, am I closer to this poor, emaciated child or am I closer to this rich billionaire? To help that answer, consider the minimum wage in many of our countries is on Kenyan shillings will be like daily 1,000 shillings and daily. So employees cannot be paid less than what is applicable in the minimum wage. So we might be tempted that a person earning a minimum wage is able to survive. But you may think, I don't even get a wage or I get the minimum. So how rich am I? Can I assist? Am I rich? So you may think I'm not the rich man. No. Everyone is rich in his or his own way. We all have something that we can give to the other. So don't place yourself out of this scene. We are all rich one way or the other. Why do we help other people? Do we help them because they will be of help to us? The other day, I was talking to another lady, a friend of mine. She's in so many chamas, these women groups, giving some little coins to assist in this project, this other thing, assisting each other. When you have a function, they will come hardy and help you. When there's a funeral, they will attend you, assist you at the funeral of your relatives, your friends. They walk with you to your home to visit your parents. And one time I was asking this lady because she seemed to be carrying so much. She borrowed some coins from me to go and contribute to one of these groups. Why do you have to be in all these groups contributing? I asked. And you know what she said? So that when I have a function, that the other people can also come to me. Do you assist? Do you help contribute to those who die because they contribute to you? Do you help a person because you give back? Jesus at some point talked about it and he said, don't give, don't lend because to those who give back to you, but do good because it is good to do good. My dear friend, we cannot afford to remain indifferent to situations around us. We have to take action. Let us today make a resolution that we will not remain indifferent to the world. Pope Benedict had talked about it when he said, "The sin of the modern world is the sin of indifference." Let us not be got into this kind of sinful inclination, the sin of indifference. Thank you. Have a nice week.